Good afternoon, everyone. So we said truth telling will be the hallmark of our leadership. And because we want everybody who works with us to fall in line with that culture of truth telling, we now encourage people to give information that is not correct. We didn't bring you outside because we want cold air. We brought you outside because the people who are fixing our building for the very genesis did not do a good work, and the conference room is still leaking. That's why we are here. And I think I have an obligation to be truthful to you. I didn't bring you out here because of COVID. Before I call our colleague from the Industrial RC, there's a few issues. President Walker issued an executive order creating an office for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. The office was to some extent set up because the president named the head of the office. Since that action took place, there has been a national discourse as to what the public thinks about the action. The discourse also took international dimension. And of course, our national orator was pointed in expressing why she thinks about the process that has evolved so far. Based on all the conversations that we've listened to, the government decided to take a stance that will make the process to be evolving. So much so that our people will take ownership of a process that is supposed to bring closure to all the concern about impunity after we fought a brutal civil war. So the executive order issued by the president establishing that office remains in force. But what we've chosen to do is to move a step further. And that is to accept that we need to be more consultative, we need to be more involving to ensure that the people of Liberia and some of our external actors who are supposed to help to drive this process feel comfortable with this process. And because there is a sense of sincerity on what we want to achieve as a result of this process, it's not for politics, it's not for gimmicks. The government chose to have a listening ear. And so the decision has been taken that will reconstitute the structure that runs the office for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. And I want to state that this decision stems from our desire to ensure that the process leading to the establishment or the constitution of the actors in the office for the War and Economic Crimes Court is open, broad-based, and ensure public scrutiny. As a result of that, the President has announced a search and vetting committee that will include the following institutions: the Ministry of Justice as chair, a representative from the National Civil Society Council of Liberia, a national NGO that works on transitional justice, a representative from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, a representative from the United Nations, the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, the Liberian National Bar Association, the Interreligious Council of Liberia, and a representative from the African Union's mission to Liberia. The Search and Vetting Committee will, within 21 days after the establishment, which begins today, recommend to the President 3 candidates of proven integrity, knowledgeable of the Liberian Constitution and criminal law, and capable of working with the international community and the Liberian public in developing appropriate mechanisms, procedures, and processes attending the establishment of the Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. On Tuesday, August 6, 2024, the acting executive governor of the Central Bank of Liberia, Mr. Henry F. Samoa, brought to the attention of the Internal Audit Department a real-time gross settlement transaction from the Central Bank of Liberia to the International Bank of Liberia. The amount involved in the transaction is $961,777 United States dollars, intended for onward transfer to a beneficiary account at SRB. Acting Executive Governor Samoa commissioned an investigation into the transaction led by the Internal Audit Department and determined that the nature in which the transaction was initiated, authorized, and subsequently transferred could have defrauded the government of Liberia. It could have also brought the Central Bank of Liberia to a potential risk of repayment in the amount of $961,777. The internal audit investigated the procedures and controls surrounding the reversal of the transaction relating to the GAL revenue account and the associated risk. Based on the internal CBL investigation, the amount of $961,777 was processed without evidence of approval of senior management of the banking department, of the journal entry ticket as required by the banking department manual. The intended beneficiary account established at the International Bank in 2018 has been credited with comparatively small amounts in the past. The General Auditing Commission, in its recent report of the CBL, captured the company that is said to have owned the account of being paid $55,000 without any evidence of any work performed. 3 staff of the banking department are currently in police detention, ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, the investigation continues, and the executive governor, Mr. Henry Samoa, has commissioned a full audit of the central bank's real-time gross settlement transaction to determine compliance with policies. The press and the Liberian people will be updated as more information becomes available regarding the investigation. At the Ministry of Information yesterday, we received a visiting delegation under the banner of the Media Foundation for West Africa. And they were accompanied by the head of the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building. Members of that delegation included Suleimani Ibrahima, who is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation, Raymond Aite, Program Manager of the same foundation, Professor Kwame Karikari, board member of the group, and Christopher Isigozo. They also included the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and of course they were brought forth by Martin Joseph. We discussed the media landscape in Nigeria. There are classification of different countries as far as the media is concerned. It's either the media is considered free, partially free, and not free at all. Nigeria is considered to be in the partially free category. One commitment I made to them as the Minister of Information, that we wanted to know all of the hurdles stopping us from being fully free. And that we assure them once we know those hurdles, if there's any legacy we want to leave behind, is to ensure that under our stewardship, Liberia gets elevated from that partially free status to a fully free society as far as the media and its operation is concerned. And because we take their visit to be very serious and important, at 4 o'clock today, I will lead them to meet with the President and the Executive Mansion. Proud to come in with building cabinet. We've intentionally taken the decision to now be very regular in holding cabinet meetings so that we are able to look at all of the contending and attendant issues that are involving daily. So we decided to focus today's cabinet on domestic revenue mobilization, with the LRA being the main actor. The LRA is on record that they have the capacity to ensure that our budget will reach in the billions. But there are contending action that we must take as a government to assist them achieve that. So we wanted them to drive us through, make a presentation of where they are, give us a picture of what they need, seek the endorsement of cabinet, and once they get the endorsement and those steps are sanctioned, they assure that all that is required to ensure that the budget reaches that point will be achieved. Cabinet also took time to look at the issue of coordination, generally not just with association with communication. There are instances where sometimes the temptation of fighting tough battle can lead to other agencies overshadowing or crossing over to the functions of other entities. As a responsible government, we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the special presentation was meant to ensure the cabinet agrees on a mechanism that ensures that we are working in a way, though complementing each other, but that keeps people basically in their lane. And in our opinion, it was a very successful cabinet. It's still on. I had to be excused because of this press conference. The government's agency that is responsible for petroleum exploration and licensing in Liberia, which is the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, made some pronouncement. They announced the official launch of the 2024 licensing rounds for hydrocarbon exploration and development within our offshore basin. They have indicated that the rounds offer unique opportunities for international and domestic companies to engage in the exploration of 29 offshore blocks within Liberia, especially in the harbor basin, encompassing both deep offshore and shallow water blocks. According to the LPRA, this round of exploration is designed to attract companies with the technical expertise and financial capacity to responsibly explore and develop these significant national resources. I'd just like to make a comment on one final issue. And the way I want to address this issue is to start with a number of rhetorical questions. If there are employees of the Ministry of Information, where are they at? They wake up in the morning, they insult the President Pro Tem. They insult the Speaker of the House of Representatives. They insult the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court. But they are in public service. They are in our ministry. I guess someone somewhere is saying it's okay. Someone somewhere says it's freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Someone somewhere would think that because it is not them, then it's okay. But I'd like to remind everybody who's concerned about what is happening as to what the Civil Service Standing Order says with regards to the conduct of individuals who work in the public service. Especially Chapter 4, Section 4.22 of the Civil Service Standing Order. And it says, anyone working in the public service with conducts unbecoming of an employee in the public sector, as outlined in Chapter 4, Section 4.2 of the Standing Order, is qualified for dismissal. And for those of you who've been at the Information Ministry for long, there's a precedent here that I can remind you about. Cletus was here as Minister of Information. I was one of his deputy ministers. The president at the time, President Sebi, dismissed me and appointed me as the acting Minister of Information. And just on account that Mr. C had been dismissed, an employee of this ministry sent him a nasty text message that I cannot read to you because of the insulting nature of it. As the acting Minister of Information, then, with reliance on the Civil Service Standing Order, I dismissed him. He reached out to the CSA and made a request for unlawful dismissal. The CSA conducted hearings. I share with them the message he sent to the former minister. The CSA upheld the dismissal because it was an act unbecoming of the person in the public sector. Each of us got independent opinion. Our politics may be different. To somebody like me, I don't care about people's politics. And you can ask the question here. I inherited the office of the Minister of Information. Everybody working in that office currently were brought here by my predecessors. One group brought by Alette Rennie, another group brought by Eugene, but they all stay in the office. Go and find out whether I have removed a single one of them because of a thought process that is not from the same party that I am. They stay there. People have come to me here day after day since I told what is ministry. They don't know what's association, who are threatening people. They don't know what's saying this. The other director that CDC put a drawing that is supposed to be removed. I have not removed one. All the directors are still directors, except for procurement, because the director there went to Maritime as the chief of staff to utilize. So for that, it was a creative vacancy that had to be filled. Every other place you got people, they have their political views. They got their right to affiliation. After work hour, they can even go to their party headquarters, whatever party they belong to. The only restriction is The entity is not a political ground. Do your political thing to your party headquarters. Keep your party identity. When you come here as a public sector. That's how we want to see you. So no, it's not acceptable that somebody in the public sector can conduct themselves a certain way because the law requires that when you do that which is considered act unbecoming of a person in the public sector, there are repercussions. The CSA has briefed us that the individuals involved had the necessary actions that are required by law. Some of them have gotten warning letters before, encouraged to have their political view, but not to be openly insulting leaders. They chose not to listen. And rather than us politicizing these things, there's always remedy under the law. The law says if somebody in the public sector is dismissed, and you feel that it's a wrongful dismissal or illegal dismissal, it says make a formal complaint that you were unlawfully dismissed. The necessary due processes will take place. And if it is determined that you were unlawfully, there have been instances where I got a letter here now about somebody who was dismissed in the last 6 years. The CSA has determined that the person was wrongfully dismissed, and they've relatively reinstate them. In that case, it's the law, and I respect the law. So when people disagree with action against them, unnecessary threats. In fact, it will interest you to know that, for example, the letter in my hand was written January 29, 2020, dismissing a public servant would be the same as you violated Chapter 4, Section 2.2 of the Standing Order. And guess what the reason was? Based on your constant involvement in spreading insults and threats at public officials via social media. The letter is here. And some of the things that the people who've been dismissed now are dismissed for is not what the person did. But the records are there, we all see it. But it happened. I asked both the MCC and CSA, and we've got none letter willing to give to you. They did a scrupulous job before they took their action. These are the insulting social media activities of the individuals who were involved. Insulting the president. Terrible women calls about it. Insulting his wife. That's not politics. That's not freedom of speech. They didn't jump from the start and take an action. It's evidence-based. If there are people who feel aggrieved, follow what the law says. When file a complaint for unlawful dismissal, and the system will give you a chance to exonerate yourself. And I think these are the issues I wanted to talk about. And I would now like to invite Mr. Ozzy from the LRRC who will speak to me. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the management of LRRC, we are very much honored and grateful to the MICAT family for affording us this platform that we can use this time to discuss and inform the public about our program plan for tomorrow that is bordered around a high level informative discussions and dialogue on the influx of Burkinabes within our borders. The upcoming event scheduled for tomorrow is a one-day national stakeholder dialogue on the influx of Burkinabes in 6 of the 15 counties in Liberia. The history of Burkinabes in our country can be traced far back to 2016-17. In 2016-17, when the assessment was done during the last administration of former President Eddie Johnson Sirleaf, and were informed that we have Burkina Faso in our borders, to be precise, in the Grand Gide, Rivergy, part of Maryland. That number, I think people are concerned based on our mandate. The UNHCR, the HRC, the RON, and the Immigration Services in August 2022, had a field visit to assess and verify the information. At the end of that meeting, recommendations for that fact-finding missions was recommended at the national level and was also discussed at the regional level. Based on the information and follow-up, in November 2022, the Minister of Information uses its platform to allow us to talk about this information at the time. As a result of that, we agreed on a joint mission to visit the project locations and to have an interaction with cross-sections of our brothers and sisters called Burkina Faso. They were interested to know that at the end of the day, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Immigration Services, the UNHCR, and the ROM conducted a rapid assessment, and it was confirmed that in 2022 of November, there were 40,000 Burkina Faso within our borders. To be precise, in Grand Gide, Rivergy, Maryland, and Nima County. Within the counties, there have been a concern. Based on that report that was spearheaded by the UNHCR and the HRC, it was reported that in Rivergy, there were 5,800 plus Burkina Faso women, children, and young people in that part of the country. In Maryland, we had 2,500 plus. In Grand Gide, 23,000. And in Nima County, we had 8,700. A total of 40,000 plus. The information is border security information of border security information offices of the Superintendent, the Commissioner, the Township, LIS. So based on the information, our administrator inherited this information and we decided to follow up on the graduate issues. In the Southeast, the HRC runs a program called Durable Solution for former Ivorian refugees who opted for local integration. It means that I cannot go back home. I have decided to stay in Liberia because I'm not a citizen or the national holders. And because this government has signed and ratified those instruments, the government of Liberia at the time developed a 3 years local integration program that allow us to establish and build structures and services available for those who opted for integration. Today, we have a 2,000 plus former Ivorian refugees who are now integrated within the local part of Liberia. Today, we are saying to you, we also have 40,000 plus Burkina Faso who also live within those areas. The present influx of returnees coming in as returnees to Ghana, they are also within those areas. We also have our brothers and sisters who are vulnerable, the deprived, the excluded, and the vulnerable people also living in that part of Liberia. We are concerned about protection and cultural clash as we move on. So as a government, we decided to elevate the conversation. Further for us, on June 20, 2024, we had a World Refugee Day, and there were cross-section of refugees who made a case. The refugee program was clamored by the House Chair on Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement, Honorable Mary Washington, Mary Johnson, and also Honorable Nathaniel Williams, Anthony Williams, excuse me, who agreed that, okay, we'll look into this matter and we'll follow up to the letter. At the upper house, the House State Committee on Refugee and Repatriation, Peter Duncan, and Honorable Pehe, Johnny Pehe, and one of the team that visited the corridors for a week. We have a mission in the corridor. We're able to assess and have dialogue with cross-section of Burkinabes along the areas. At the end of the exercise, we get to understand that there was leadership structure, Burkinabe leadership structure. They had their own town chief, they had their own governor, they had the Women Association. In far to reach areas. We were in Gray in MICAT, from Gray to the border Babli. It's a 5-hour drive, like 2 minutes away from the South Star River into Côte d'Ivoire. We spoke to almost hundreds of Burkinabes, just the leadership, women and the children who are vulnerable. They are concerns. We'll have meeting in Toaston also, we'll have similar concerns. We're in PTP, in Zeju, in the Westgate, similar concerns. Also was at the Plibo City Hall, we'll have mass meeting, and it turned to a clash. Because our refugees who have integrated, who are veterans, and also Burkinabes who are saying, oh, this is our territory and this is our territory. Well, we hammer that up, and our concern is that there are two groups of Burkinabes we are looking at. There are those who left the war in the north, in Burkina Faso, and are seeking refuge within our borders. And there are those who are from the Côte d'Ivoire, they are economic migrants, basically they are farmers. Whether you are a farmer or you are asylum seekers, we are concerned about international protection because this government has signed and ratified international instruments. The LCCC as a lead agency has an obligation to ensure that our records as a government are clear to enable us access other development opportunities, because once we are in red, it creates as a obstacles to access other international fundings. This meeting and what we are here for today is to use the platform to inform the Liberian people that after technical meetings and back-to-back discussion with our partners, on tomorrow, Friday, we'll be having a national stakeholder dialogue to discuss some of the concerns. The dialogue is concerned about what can we do to document the influx of population, to identify if they are asylum seekers or economic migrants, and what kind of protection assistance can we give them. We are also concerned to identify the vulnerable protections needs that need to be ultimately addressed for our POCs, our persons of concerns. There are risks associated with undocumented people. It will be social, it will be economic, but our concern now is to see what can we do to help us address some of the issues. How can we ensure that our people have access to the eco-free movement, the asylum regime, as economic migrant or mixed migration, or the POCs. We have come to inform you, members of the Fourth Estate and the public, that on tomorrow, we'll be having this dialogue to look at few issues. But our focus is about the risks involved. There are social risks involved, protection risks, and security risks. The illegal entry into our country, the issue of freedom of movement, the issue of constraining arrested people in our borders, and the forced detention, the issue of health implications for the women and children that are associated with them. Criminals will make their way through and use them for other purposes. Unidentified individuals residing in our forest, in our cocoa belt, they are engaged in production, and that cocoa, because of the way they produce and distribute and sell our country cocoa across the border, is not in line with best practices. So to some extent, the EU have a concern about the issue of production and sale of cocoa from Liberia. That's a concern for us also as a country. It helps to stigmatize us and put in a different boat. There are vulnerable women and children who don't have access to safe water, medical assistance, shelters, and they're all living in the bushes. We have a concern. Therefore, tomorrow's program, we intend to bring on board all the key actors, the movers, the shakers, the influencers, our development partners, the NGOs, the RNGOs, the one you have from the intellectuals, our other ministry agency representatives based on the sector and thematic areas of the elevated discussion, and will help us inform us as to how do we prepare a comprehensive report for decision making. Having said that, I want to quickly introduce Mr. Huff. Mr. Huff is the Deputy Director of Operations, who will explain to you the details as it relates to tomorrow's program. Mr. Huff, please.
Good afternoon, members of the Fourth Estate, Liberians in radio and television land and the social media. Good afternoon to the Honorable Ministers, the First Ministry for Tourism. We are happy to be here at MICAT press briefing. It gave us the opportunity to voice out our platform under the one government, one communication, one platform, one message as President Bouaka has initiated. Like the Director of Enterprise, Honorable Patrick Wosi has said, tomorrow's program will be at the Kingsville City Hall. It will start at 9 o'clock in the morning and it will run up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There are 5 cardinal areas that we are going to focus on as a commission, and those 5 areas will include looking at protection and human rights issues surrounding the Burkinabés who are within our borders. We will look at political and foreign implications for us as a country. We will also look at the rights of communities and local government as it relates to this particular issue. We will look at the environment. We will look at conservation and ecological issue as it relates to the Burkinabé scenario. We will also look at economic implications. These are thematic areas that we hope to discuss tomorrow in details. When it comes to protections and human rights issue, we as a country, as a government, we will look at how we can uphold the protections of these African brothers as it relates to the free movement within the ECOWAS region, and how we can determine their status after proper registration is done for them. So you'll either register as a refugee in Liberia or as a migrant. So with a proper documentation, it can be determined what is their status. So tomorrow's program will look at all these cardinal issues. Like the director have said, we've invited top personalities from the government, from civil society, from national NGO, from international NGO, from the UN sector, as well as prominent Liberians in the diaspora to speak on major issues that we can all deliberate on and find common solutions. At the end of the program tomorrow, we will come up with a resolution, a proper solution that be forwarded to the President and the Cabinet for action. We hope that tomorrow's event will draw the curtain on the issue of the influx of Burkinabés into Liberia. They are African citizens. Over the past, Liberia had not taken major action because they were ECOWAS citizens. But with the development in January, we saw it necessary that now we need to get on our feet and then host this program to be able to properly document them, as Ghana and Sierra Leone and Cote d'Ivoire have done. And so with the backing of UNHCR, IOM, and the government of Liberia, we will then host this program tomorrow at the Pigsville City Hall. The media is involved. As you have come today to the press briefing, we expect that you will be there tomorrow like this, so that you can also let Liberians know what has been discussed in the hall. We want to thank the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism for availing us this platform to be able to discuss this particular issue, and that key among people that will attend this particular event that we will look forward to is the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Honorable Grammy Horace will be there. The Independent National Human Rights Commission, Councilor Venston Brown will also be there. The Ministry of Youth and Sports as it relates to young people and social issue will also be there. You will have the Executive Director of the Women NGO Secretary of Liberia, Wangoso, attending the program. And then we will have media guru like Hassan Kewu and Anthony Bowen moderating these sections alongside other seasoned Liberian journalists who will also be there. You will have the Superintendent from NIMA, Honorable Paul Miape Gono, Honorable Alex Grant from Kranjida will be there. Honorable Max Swegbe, the Superintendent of River G, and the Honorable Henry Cole, Superintendent of Maryland County, will also be there. You will have prominent persons from the universities of Kimberland also addressing us. The House Chair on Repatriation and Refugee, Honorable Mary Johnson, will be there. These are a few individuals who have vast knowledge on these issues who will also be there to address the panelists through sections that will make the event tomorrow. I want to thank you so much, and I'll turn the podium over to the director who will continue forward.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks to the folks from the LRRC for making their detailed presentation. As usual, the full members of the press, the opportunity to interact with the speakers, and I will follow the normal routine. Pamela?
Yeah. Thank you, Minister.
Are we set?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we'll take 4 questions at a time.
Okay, thank you, Minister. Please come in the queue. So please introduce yourself.
John Sherry, formerly of ECOWAS Radio Now, Power Jams, FM Monrovia, Online Radio, Liberia, USA. It is very alarming to talk about this Burkina Faso question. You know, Burkina Faso is opting to be out of ECOWAS, so to speak, and she's really fighting to do that. And to know that since 2022, the population has increased. And these are people who speak French and who speak English. And to have them here up to now, I think it's shameful. It is a serious security risk. You're talking about 40,000 Burkinabés in Liberia illegally, and nothing has been done since 2022. I mean, I wonder where is ECOWAS. The next thing is, I'd like to talk about the institute that said that Liberia is what, number 3 on the list, partially free. I mean, when you make statements such as that, knowing that this is a nation, you should, in many ways, make it clear as to what do you mean by that, so that people understand. Because I mean, Liberia plays a pivotal role in West Africa, and it is not a secret that all of the elections since 2005 have been free and fair. And if you look in the jail today, the prisons, you will see that there are no political prisoners. So, Minister Pierre, I think we need to hold these people, responsible to let them be explicit as to what they really mean. And the last thing I'd like to say is, I watched some of the opposition politicians in America, especially the artists, the entertainers, and some of the way they abuse their presidents. I wondered, but The Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he grows old, he will not depart from it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. My name is Strobel Flammer, and I report for Fabric Expo Network. My question is, you said that to you before you said when you were here at MICAT as acting minister, you fired, sacked an employee who was here and did something wrong. But in this case, the civil service agency is the one recommending or has recommended the firing of the individuals instead of the institution where the work should be doing that, according to the same civil service law, that the institution should complain of a misconduct of a civil servant. But in this case, they want to reverse. I don't know how can you reconcile that. In your case, you did it, but in this case, civil servant is the one. Civil service is the one taking the action now, mandated the Monroe City Corporation to take action against these people. You can please reconcile that for me. For the executive director, the other day you were here, and sorry to say that your statement, I don't know whether your misconstrued or like that you brought some people in the country, about 80% were Zogos. I don't know what steps being taken to be, later on you withdrew your statement and you reduce the percentage to 40% by them. I don't know what steps, have been taken to be able to have those people, those Zogos you claim to be brought in the country, reintegrated, whether you've been able to send them to detox center to have them rehabilitated.
So my name is James M. Bala, and I report for Rural Joe Africa in my division team. My question goes to Mr. Wilson. Chief, there's a huge number of people you talked about in the southeast of Nigeria, the Burkina Faso, 40,000. Now, the first question is, I want to hear why. Are these people refugees? If they are refugees, how are they being felt over the years? But you spoke about them being there since 2022. So you're responsible for refugees and all over the country. How are they being felt over the years? And I think that it means well, you need a tomorrow program, stakeholders will participate tomorrow in the program. But you did not have the involvement of representatives from the Burkina Faso to be in that conference tomorrow. So I don't know as to how we'll be discussing them and we'll be them out in this process. And lastly, okay, so far, so good. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Good afternoon. My name is Desmond Wayne and I report for Matolima. Basically, my concern goes to the L2RC boss. The other day you spoke about those of whom are Liberians that you brought into the country and then they were being preserved at Banga waiting follow arrangement. In recent times, we saw some of these people protesting at the president's compound in Riyadh, demanding the president for settlement. I don't know at this point in time, with the institution, has there been any system put in place in terms of resettlement, or are they still to Banga where they are being preserved partially? And to the minister, the case about this dismissal which is so trending over the country, especially when it comes to morals in public service. We read a standing order act, and then we read the Constitution that talks about the freedom of expression, the freedom of information, given to all Liberians, irrespective of their status or their occupation. But the standing order says they are to act accordingly in workplaces, and that which they have not been very explicit as to whether social media or in their offices or in the vicinity of where they work. With the much emphasis of this case, which is Inspector Foley and Masakwa, Inspector Advertisement of the that's the advertisement unit of the Monroe City Corporation. He was terminated, his contract was terminated, based on social media posts that was captured by his boss. acting upon the recommendations of the CSA. Are we to be convinced as member of the Christ that the CSA Christian order, it is not in just relationship to actions of several actors in our workplaces, but it's to also go to their personal Facebook pages, because at times these pages are hacked. Speaking about digital transition in our new world, these pages are hacked and other people use other people's accounts to blackmail them. Are we taking into consideration about the real stories behind, not just you need to just go after people just by what they write on Facebook and you judge them by that? How can we reconcile this with this not being applied over recent times? They said that during the former president, we never saw people being dismissed just by writing on Facebook.
You sure about that?
I speak for what I know of. So you could be wrong. So you gotta reconcile this. How can we address it?
Thank you. Thank you. Can address your concerns and the issues.
So there are three questions for us. The transparency, the first has to do with participation of key stakeholders at the program tomorrow. The answer is yes. Our program tomorrow is inclusive and participatory. We'll have 12 persons at the host communities. The leadership of the Burkina Beast, 2 per country, will be at the program tomorrow. We have somebody to transport them, we will meet on this evening. The DSA, their transportation, everything was sponsored by our donors. People want to hear from them themselves. The FETEC committee will also be at the program. So like 3 persons, 2 Burkina Beast, and 1 member of the FETEC committee, 3 per country will be at the program. So to address the first question, the answer is yes. We'll have a group of people at the program also. We'll also include members of the folk estate, as I said, all of the items that do live in those areas. But the answer the question straight. The second part of the program, a question has to do with, are these people refugees? The answer is no. They are not refugees, but they are POC. To become a refugee, there are process. You are a refugee based on the 51 Convention or the 69 Convention, the UNHCR 69 Convention. On the 69 Convention or 61 Convention, there are steps involved. You have to apply as an applicant and say, because of war, greater fear from persecution in my country, I hereby seek refuge in your country. So we see you at the border and your country files our applicant. We have our Senate committee and the entrepreneurship represented by all of ministries that go through your case and report and file you there. And at the end of the day, once you are qualified, then you are accepted as a silent seeker. Then we'll do reference check back to your country to get all the data information to qualify you that you did not run away from your country because you killed someone and came to Liberia. You went away from your country because of war, fear, or persecution. Once that is established on the 51 Convention, they move on to a refugee. So there are steps. So they become asylum seeker for over 10, 15 years because we still do investigation to make sure that we have the actual information. And it's the 51 Convention. On the 69 Convention, they say a group of people running away from war. Influx of people, because of the good number of people who don't have the time to do individual investigation, we go for prima facie. They need a group of people running away from war because of the influx of people who accept all of you because of fear or persecution. So the 69 Convention speak about what influx, whereas the 161 Convention look on a case-by-case basis. Now, if you keep all the 69 Convention, and for some reason, those situations are brought into our country, cease to exist, and the conditions are met, we invoke what we call the cessation clause. It means that the conditions that are brought in our country, we do not investigate you people, we consider you as a refugee, no longer exist. It's not free and time for you to go back home. You're not supposed to go home. That's what we call voluntary repatriation. But if you refuse to go home, then we invoke the 61 Convention and look into a case on a case-by-case basis. Without education, the situation in Burkina Faso and what's unfolding right now, there are 2 groups of people. There are those who came from the Côte d'Ivoire and crossed over. We don't know if they are asylum seekers that were brought into Liberia, or they came because of what? Business or economic gain, economic migrants. This dialogue will help us to shift this discussion and will help us prepare us to do a profile. We know them, we find them, we investigate, we document them. At the end, we come back to you and say, oh, of the 4,000 persons, these are asylum seekers, and these are what? Economic migrants. And because they're equal citizens, the equal free movement can be applied. Because they are asylum seekers, we can invoke the asylum regime. Until we do that, they are not refugees, they are not asylum seekers, they are POC, persons of concern, in our borders. The last part has to do with the issue of 80%, 60%. Let me show you, to you that the last part has to do with our last conversation. I think we passed that level long ago, but the good news is that today we have with us as an entity 174 Liberians in Ghana, don't have no pound, no man, and we are still living with us to find place for them. Today we have about 289 persons who need some level of rehabilitation. Either have a medical problem or some level of mental problem. So we have done some documentation with the support of the Ministry of Health and the mental health team. They are just screening, and we have a list of people that is qualified. That number of the time, they be qualified into 80%. What happened if I tell you that it was 80%, 100%, not 80? So the good news was to have the yardstick. But again, we are happy to say that they are our brothers and sisters, and that will be addressed, and we should find global solution for them. Thank you.
So, John, the rating of the country is not a work of the West Africa, the Media Foundation for West Africa. I'm sure you know about Freedom House. It existed for wrath of ages platforming. Year by year, they rate country as far as how free the press is. We used to be considered before as a country where the press is not free. We made some progress. Out of 100, gave us 64, which eventually qualified us for being partly free. It is a process that is globally respected, and what we take interest in is not to call us self-defense. So what we do is we work with them to identify what the shortcomings are, and then we work on the shortcomings. Because the way you leave from this stage to another stage is to meet just what the benchmarks are that will make you economy free, partly free, etc. So as a country, we respect Freedom House, we respect their assessment, we take it in good faith, and we work to improve upon where the things that issue for which we are considered partly free. So the first thing I want to say is that I'm not going to be in a debate. I provided an information. And I closed the conversation by saying, this is a country of law. When you feel aggrieved, there are remedies under the law. And if you come back to true confess, the CSA did not dismiss the individual in referencing. Yes, the CSA may have called the MCC's attention to their excesses and requested that the MCC investigate them and do what it's supposed to do. If that means that the CSA is compromised, labor-related cases also go to the Ministry of Labor. If you don't believe that you can get justice in the Ministry of Labor, you can go to the Court of Law. The Court of Law is a different branch of government. It's not a part of the executive as the CSA is or as the Ministry of Labor is. So I'm sure if you really complaints about the action against it being illegal, you can get there. My interaction with the media is such that I like all of us to be honest. If somebody is a journalist in this country, And they say the last 6 years nobody was dismissed. There are ABCs about the profession you are in. I know there are a lot of people who do media work, and we all know that maybe that's part of the reason why we have Bole free. Some people spend all their years to go to learn mass communication, learn journalism. They are journalists. Some people not in those directions. But it says your guy up here called ABC, John Red. I say you should be what? Accurate, balanced, and credible. And if something is as broad as daylight and you are generally saying, I never saw it, then the very foundation of your intervention is impugned with motive other than a journalist honestly trying to get an answer to a question. And I must also state that we're not suggesting that actions are being taken because they were taken before. The reference is based on morality. If similar action was taken with similar reference to the very law attending to the action, and it was okay by you, and the same law is applied, and now it's wrong, then something is wrong. There's something that's really, very, very wrong that ought to be looked at. And even an attempt to blatantly disrespect or misinterpret the law is concerning. The very Constitution being referenced about people having free speech and this, that Constitution goes to say you are responsible for the consequences thereof. It doesn't say you can go and do anything and get free. It's exercise of free speech. That if there are consequences, you are responsible. You bear those consequences. But with regards to civil servant, the law is not that I can come to work, and once I'm to work, I should behave. But if I leave a Ministry of Information friend, I can stand in the middle of the street and cost the speaker, cost the chief justice, cost everybody. It says your conduct and while you are in the public service. Public service, you be in public service not only when you come to work. If anybody in this ministry was to just jump on one money and start causing for the people family and cost the president family, I'll fire you the same way. Because it's unacceptable. The law says you should not do it. Is that the only way we Liberians can express ourselves by insulting? We say we go to school, we are the people in all these different universities. You can have a simple common sense conversation rather than insult. Where do we come from? We brag about what the status of our country is, founded on Christian principles. Sure, Ben in his 20s cursing people in the 80s. You come here to provide justification for those excesses. And in short, suggesting that once a person is doing what they in the ministry is okay. What kind of country is this? Those issues we consider unacceptable. We will act on them. We give a remedy under the law. If you go to wherever you see the word, they say, the man, we agree that no wrongfully dismissed, we come back to work. Without the country, we one day that what we have. But I know nobody on my watch. We insult the president, we insult the speaker, we insult the chief justice, we insult people in the name of exercising freedom. What kind of freedom is that? The civil service standing order is concerned about acts unbecoming of individuals who work in the public sector. And if you act in ways that suggest that you are conducting yourself as such, and actions are determined, the actions will be taken while you take a recourse on the law as far as you can. And it's as simple as ABC, not meant for debate. Was there any other question? That's all. Thank you.
So we continue? Yeah, somebody is in the queue. Okay, last, very last. Yeah, my name is Graham Jackson and I report the Vision TV. My question goes to Real Trevor Boss. A few years ago in Greenville, concerning the issue of the Burkina Faso, the series of clash between the people of Greenville and that of the Burkina Faso. The people of Greenville said that the Burkina Faso, they were coming overnight to Greenville in their forests
and they were settling there. And it started one by one, and today we have 40,000 Burkinabes resides within our country. And I'm sure if action is not taken, there will be more than 40,000 Burkinabes within our country. So my question to you is, what can the government do to put this situation under control since it is 40,000? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Kura Thompson, and I report for the truly independent Udon newspaper. We have heard about this Burkinabes intruding our borders over the period, and we heard about the investigation. But unfortunately, we did not get the result of this investigation. We are just hearing it here. So can you tell us what is really prompting the dialogue that you guys will be having tomorrow? Are you also considering the Article 27, Paragraph 1 of the ECOWAS Protocol that talk about free movement, which highlighted the issues of travel documents or either a health certificate? Are you considering that also? Thank you.
Thank you. So very quickly, the program tomorrow answers your question, the first question. We don't have all the answers. We are concerned about the influx of people that are borders. We don't know them, don't know the nation of our country, don't know how long someone has been there, and they keep on coming over and over. In some areas, we're informed in the dialogue that some of them have access to the land. I gave you my land, you develop it and plant cocoa. After 5 years, if I get 10 acres of land, as all based on the sales, I give you 40% of the land owner, I take 60%. Those arrangements are done outside the law because we're nothing called legal papers. We are also concerned about those who just cross over and sleep in people's quarters, communities, and butchers or any form of illegal documentation. So, to answer the questions, my brother, the dialogue tomorrow is the focus to look at the political, the social, the economic implications of the people within our borders, and will help us make informed decisions to national government on their course of action. The second question has to do with documentation of the people. I made a focal points on mixed migration. Mixed migration is a concept for ECOWAS that's a group of people as a result of fear of persecution or displacement, or as a result of the need to improve the living conditions, you move on the move. So based on the ECOWAS free movement, it's a component of one of the mixed migration concepts. But to invoke the ECOWAS free, or the free movement, you want to know who are you and what are you doing, and then we build around our next course of action. If you're an asylum seeker, you don't need economic free movement because we invoke the one convention, you have international protection. But we learn from Africa to say, oh, I never learned to do a family job. And you all stay 3 months here, based on the economic free movement. You are our illegal alien in our country or citizen. You're in our country, you need to be dealt with. You have a go and face the immigration and address that problem. So good number of these people are concerned about what people, immigration go after them, they're asking for legal documentation, they pay over 3 months to solve the problem. The dialogue will help us to go and do what verification, profiling, and then we'll document them, know who are migrants. And then when you're migrants, then you are qualified to apply the ECOWAS free movement 90 days. In 90 days, we expect to get all your legal documents there, travel documents, work permit to do business in our country. In the absence of legal documents, in three months, ECOWAS free movement, then you are not a lawful citizen in our country or guest of our country. On the other side, if you are asylum seekers, they will come in to ensure that me and my team work as a body in the government to provide international protection for you. One going through your asylum regime. Thank you. As the chair of the board of directors of the Liberia Broadcasting System, I thought to add my voice to the fact that tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we will break grounds for the construction of a new broadcast facility at LBS, and eventually the refurbishment of all of the existing infrastructures at LBS compound. It's a big thing for LBS, it's a big thing for the country, because the project is estimated at the cost of $5.5 million. And it's being sponsored by the People's Republic of China. Think about it. That LBS compound you're looking at there, you put $5.5 million investment in there. Just imagine the kind of state-of-the-art structure that our national broadcaster will look at. So the president himself, President Waka, will do the groundbreaking. And the project is expected to be completed in a little over a year. So it's not something that we're doing and then you're watching, you can see action. You're going to see a brand new LBS, equipment will be part of it, vehicles, translator, anything you think about that makes the facility to be class 1 tech. That's why the cost is as much as $5.5 million. And I want to congratulate the analyst newspaper that celebrated their anniversary. I think it's 20-something years, 26 years. It's a long time to be stempling as a journalist in a country that was engulfed by war, and with the media economy itself not being too good, and we must admit it. Media institutions around Africa, Liberia inclusive, is struggle. Many of you know that. What kind of money then to pay you? Some of you are making $60, $70. Even if they give you $100 or $125, they can take care of you, know that. But that is because the media economy itself is not good. So if you see a paper and an individual striving under those kind of circumstances for 26 unbroken years, as a ministry, we want to salute Stanley Seeker, his analyst family. We wish them well as they continue their journey. And we are also not shy to say analysts have been one of the best. They tread ethically, they are professional, they don't do mercenary journalism, and that's what we want. And we just thought to give them this public commendation as they continue with the celebration of their 26th anniversary. Again, congratulations to Stanley and his family.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Dr. Wozi. Thank you to your colleagues in the media. I work today, and hopefully for this week, by the grace of the Almighty, we will resume here on Tuesday next week. Thank you very much.